Coming at you from Scratchin Wolf Studio, it's that time again to rage across the internet. It's your very favorite Werewolf the Apocalypse podcast. As always, I'm your host, Porter. Sitting to my left, the one and only Mr. Daniel Tyson.
Hey, everybody.
The man who hopefully won't sing a thing at us, Mr. Tommy Dixon.
How's it going?
I wasn't singing.
Sure.
And a man who's not going to lie to the audience either, our very own CJ.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
That was good.
He just handed that to me.
He says, hey, everybody. I say, how's it going? And he just put both together. I like that.
So here we are.
Oh, boy.
Back to your regularly scheduled programming in between the Let's Plays.
Yeah, we're a little...
Stop dating ship, Tom. We don't know that anymore.
You guys get to do it? Come on.
I don't know why we're on a dating ship.
Ooh.
I didn't... Oh, boy.
You did.
Oh, boy. Okay.
It's the SS Let's All Bone, folks.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa.
I don't know. I just that's what you'd name a dating ship, right?
You know what? Fair.
SS Chlamydia?
Oh, no.
SS, I ship it.
There you go.
Oh, that's the better one. What's the captain's name?
Don't ask!
I don't know, but you can find him on the list.
Get back to us on the captain's name.
Oh, God.
So this is Rage Across the Internet.
I catch my fucking breath. Good God, you guys.
I liked it better with you laughing in the background.
Oh, no more. All right.
So welcome to Rage Across the Internet, your Werewolf the Apocalypse podcast.
It had nothing to do with cruise ships.
This could be a Rokia episode.
It's the show where everything's made up and things don't matter.
Oh, this shit matters. I said that with a I got half of that with a straight face.
Half. Half that with a straight face. Is that the new single?
No.
Oh, bummer.
Studio rejected that one.
That's a sucky attitude to have.
I do hear, though, there was some news on the front of our favorite indie band, 50% of Forever.
Mm-hmm.
As they got a pretty big gig. They're going to be doing the remix the soundtrack for the Half-Life reboot.
Wait, that's coming out? Oh, you guys can't even stifle your laughter on that one? Come on.
No, I couldn't.
What are they calling it? Half-Life 4? Skip over that 3?
I mean, maybe.
3.5.
2.5.
2.5, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right.
See, because Half-Life.
No, I know. I got it.
50% of Forever.
I couldn't resist.
What a ridiculous soundbite.
The greatest band you'll never hear.
So, hey, if this is your first show, and there's a decent chance it might be, think about that shit for a second.
Man.
Welcome.
Not always this stupid.
Flyer.
No, I'm just me specifically. I'll make that fair.
We do have a real one, though, in the can. I know the last couple episodes have been a bit, like regular episodes, not the Let's Plays, have been a bit more freeform and us just hanging out, and which just hopefully you've enjoyed, and we do, so there you go. But we do have more of a real one here in our hands today.
A little bit.
You know, if this is your first episode, this is the show where we discuss various facets of Werewolf the Apocalypse. And at the time of this recording, W5 dropped this week.
Right.
This show is not about W5. And while there is going to be time for us to discuss that, and
It's not today.
no, it's not today. But the reason I do date it by bringing this up is because, you know, Werewolf 5 is a reboot. And they have stripped a lot of things from the game.
From Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Correct. W5.
And
we're making the distinction because it is a reboot.
Yes.
Right. If it were just a new edition, we wouldn't have to do this. But they changed the lore, they changed the system, they changed everything. So we have to differentiate what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
And so it's that in combination with something one of our listeners said the other day over on Discord, which we'll talk about that in a second too, is, you know, it was requested that we talk about getting into werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of people who are seeing it for the first time.
Exactly. And so this is what this show in particular is I thought we should take a moment to talk about the game and what it means to us and what makes it awesome. Essentially, if you were going to get somebody new into the game today, how do we go about that? I believe it's something we talked about like a junk drawer like a year and a half ago.
Probably.
But certainly it merits being discussed.
Oh, especially, again, after this week in the changes that were made of the reboot. But how, especially someone who's brand new, how are they supposed to differentiate? So, here we are.
It's W5 coming out, the reboot, the new edition, whatever you want to call it right now. It's guaranteed that we're going to get a lot more people looking into Werewolf. So having a show that is dedicated to being like, hey, send them this, see if they're interested, versus like getting them to download the entire core book or PDF or find whatever edition recommends. You can just send them a link to a single episode.
I mean, that's the thought. I do want to do, we have plans for the future.
Yep.
Left and right. We have, I guess, little spoilers where we've been talking about doing the Edition Wars. Or the Edition Olympics is what
the
it's
Edition
called.
Olympics.
Yes. In a series where we go over the various elements of the game. And it's kind of the podcast, but like a refocus. It's shit we've been talking about.
Almost like a back to basics.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that's it. That's the series, but it's along those lines.
Kind of like how when we started doing some of the stuff, each of us would do research on different versions. So like you had I had revised, and you had first edition, and we were doing that to combine to see the differences.
And that's going to essentially be the Edition Olympics. Yes.
Okay.
I know
that was fun. I like doing that, seeing the differences between the editions.
And I know some of the friends of the podcast want in on that.
Well, I'm sure they do.
Which is going to be fun, right? Because there's only so many editions to go around. There's going to be fighting over free spots on the fucking the show. But anyway, today we're talking about the whole. And again, we talk about, we're not doing 5. We're talking Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Yes.
The core.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing too, because the idea is there's, like CJ said, there's going to be a lot of new people showing up, and they're only going to know theoretically. They're going to know through Werewolf 5, and there's a lot of things that have been changed and a lot of things that have been removed. Concepts that people would never know about if they only started with 5.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's some of those concepts that like the entire Werewolf the Apocalypse game was built on.
Right.
Those are the core, like those are the beginnings, to remove those completely.
Well, and let's, again, because we're not here today.
We're not shitting on...
well, no, I don't even want to talk about... Like, this isn't a W5 episode. What we need to focus on is Werewolf the Apocalypse as a game.
Mm-hmm.
To its very core, to its essence, what brought us here? What do we love about it? What is great about this game?
Yeah, to someone who hasn't seen it before, or like, oh, this looks interesting, let's reel them in.
That's the point. Werewolf the Apocalypse. We go back to the basics, the concept of the brutality and ferocity of something like a werewolf. For me, it was such a game changer, so fucking cool, right? Is like, I've always liked werewolves. Mm-hmm. But the idea that to learn about, these aren't werewolves, man, these are Garu. There are 5 forms that they get to choose at will. None of this, hey, lock me up because the moon's coming out shit. None of these, I can't control myself, or the change. No, they change when they want to.
Well, there's times where they can't control themselves, but we're
not talking about the outliers. We're talking about the core shit there. And then to find out there's this whole culture, right? There are different tribes. And fucking, the spirituality. Each tribe serves a fucking totem spirit, and that spirit has a spirit brood, and they're not just, I'm changing forms and running out to the night. They have a mission. They're the fucking heroes.
Right.
That doesn't make them necessarily good people all the time. And that's a different, get there, to the moral ambiguity and the complexities of the world of darkness. That's a thing, but that's a thing for later, certainly. Later in the show.
Anti-hero is a thing for a reason.
That's true. But that's when you learn that they were created by Gaia, by the earth, to be her protectors, her defenders.
I can say that, like, the brutality of it, of being Garu, or, this version of a werewolf, and the savage horror of it, that's what got me interested. And then to learn about the culture of it, and the mission, and the why, that's the hook that, like, sunk in. That's what kept me here.
Well, and elaborate on that. And obviously we're going to go to the CJ, Tom, we're going to go to you guys on that too. Because that is the thing, is you guys, let's face it, I brought you and Dana, you and Tom into the fold.
Yeah.
And CJ, I know the show had influence in you being here now. But, I mean, that's not the answer, right? Like, that's just, oh, cool, I'm glad that the show did that. And that's what we're here for. But, the concepts and, what about it?
Yeah.
So please continue, Danny.
No, like I said, it's the culture behind it and the why and the mission. That's what sunk in. Like, okay, it's not just you're going to be a werewolf and go slash out in the night. Sure, that sounds cool. And sure, you can make a game out of that. But that's not what this is. Sure, it can happen, but that sounds pretty fucking boring. Or at least will be very soon. So the stories behind it and the culture and the mission and the mysteries, those are a big deal, especially with your writing. Your writing style is like 90% mystery all the time at this point. I fucking love that part.
I appreciate that, but I mean, like, I want to stick to the. Let's not make this about me.
No, I'm not trying to, but like at the same time, this is what we know.
No, I appreciate that. And again, I mean, again, thank you. Because I'm the only storyteller you guys have ever had. So yes, but I don't want to.
But at the same time, your level of experience compared to us at this point, we've been doing this for 5-6 years, but you've been doing this for 30-something years.
You're getting close to it. I think. I'm not doing the math. I'll call that. It's getting close.
So decades of werewolf experience from you alone. There's some merit there to learn.
God, it has been. It has been.
It hit 30?
I think it's past, because we recently discovered, and I didn't realize this, and this is fucking off topic, I'll make it quick, is that the Cairn book is a first edition book.
Okay.
It was released in 93.
30 years on the dot.
I think it's 91.
That's a whole thing to think about.
Oh, it's 91, I think.
Oh, Jesus. It's even longer.
Early 90s, so it puts it about 30 years. It's fine.
Yeah, it's 91 or 93.
Yeah.
And this
Either
was the
one.
thing, because I always thought it came out later than it did. And I just never checked the date. It's a couple years, but it matters in terms of edition. And they don't detail any characters insofar as you would see the renown, which is the dead giveaway for which edition it is. But it came out before the second edition core. So Cairn's book predates
the core of second edition.
Yes.
Jesus.
Which explains a lot about the choice of Shadow Lord and Glasswalker Cairns. Because it predated, why isn't the Scepter of the Night Sky? Why isn't the Margrave's Cairn? Well, because the Margrave didn't exist yet.
That makes sense.
Yeah, suddenly, right? But this is total gobbledygook. This is nonsense if this is your first one. What the fuck's a Margrave? What's a Seth? What's the Night Sky? What the fuck are you people talking about?
We have episodes for that.
We do, and we'll get
there.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. Tom, CJ, gentlemen, tell us a bit about Werewolf and You.
I mean, one thing I would like to hit on real quick, especially for the pitch, going back to Danny mentioning the brutality and everything of Werewolf. Werewolf is a very much combat-oriented game, and from a first time looking at it, might look like just Murder Hobo the game. One of the things is that especially got me into this was looking just a little deeper, just not even going very far into the core book at all. You start seeing those, the different cultures of the tribes, the fucking politics between the tribes, not like IRL politics, the almost Game of Thrones style ebbs of influence across all the tribes and all the peoples in the nation, and how that could cause some shenanigans or very, very interesting plots that could be played with, and go an entire set of stories without a single bit of combat. the game is still extremely interesting. Your character is going to be built for combat, usually, because the nature of what they are, but you don't have to expressly build that way.
Oh, it can still be brutal without the combat.
Oh, yeah. Like, the main thing that drew me to Werewolf was the spirituality. When I found out about the Umbra, I was immediately hooked in. From, like, the vampire side of things, where all you have to deal with is the mortal world and humans and vampires and the occasional supernatural that's not a vampire. Kind of boring pretty quickly because, once again, you're just dealing with the physical world. The mortals, yes, you got some weird blood magics and everything, but when I found out about the Umbra, the Velvet Shadow, this whole other just world that you got to play in and explore and learn new things and deal with spirits. It's one of the things that really got me, especially when I started listening to the Theurge episodes and started reading into Theurge stuff. The possibilities there are damn near endless. You just got to put a little work in. If you're creative or an abstract thinker, Theurge is definitely something that people are going to want to look into just for one of the auspices. And if you're not, there's 4 others that are just as fun in their own ways.
And that's, I think it's a moment to touch down on, because you brought up 2 very important concepts that are new to people who aren't familiar with Werewolf. Is the, number 1, the auspice, which is the moon that was showing, the moon phase, in the sky when your character was born. That dictates their role in Garu society. It's almost like a job class, if you will.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's a job class if you're trying to figure this out for the first time. But it makes more sense the longer you're doing it for it to be your role in society.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. But, if you're explaining to someone who's brand new to these concepts, it's like a job class.
It's your blacksmiths, your thieves, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I'd even go warrior, bard.
Yeah. Well,
mage.
Magician.
Magician.
Yeah.
Magician.
Okay.
And, bard, and I don't want to say jester, but maybe jester/assassin.
I can.
There you go.
Fine.
I mean, if we're translating it right to D&D talk, which probably people are most familiar with.
Yeah, and then you can even use it as basics.
Or standard RPGs. I mean, that's what you're going to be familiar with.
Exactly. And that dictates your role in Garu society. It's not who you are as a character. That's not a character, but it is what's expected of you.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's something that if you don't know what to do, or if you are finding yourself in your first games, you're not sure what your character should do, what's expected of them and whatnot, just look to your auspice. It's usually a good little to remember or touch on. Like, if you're playing the Philodox and your pack is arguing and you have no idea what to do, maybe it's time for your character to step out of their middle zone or their comfort zone and start trying to mediate. If it's a Theurge and your pack's trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, start getting creative. Start thinking of some weird shit you might be able to pull to get spirits to help you. If you're the Ahran, either work on that battle plan, or if your pack's taking too long to make a decision, make the decision for them and go hit something.
When in doubt, brood it out. That was actually,
is that their mantra?
No, that was actually our mantra at a job I had once upon a time.
Oh, nice.
Unofficial.
Look, you can get a square peg in a round hole
if you push hard
if you have
enough.
a hammer.
I was going to say, if you have a hammer.
With enough force,
Yep.
it will go.
When in doubt, brood it out.
I like that. What was the other part that he had mentioned?
The Umbra.
Oh, there you go.
Which is the spirit realm. And that's almost, I think the spirit realm is almost an oversimplification, because it's like a fucking onion. There are layers.
We've used this analogy a few times.
Oh, of course. It's apt.
Yeah, it's too good not to use the analogy.
That's fair.
There are different levels of the Umbra and realms within realms, and it's a lot, the more you get into it.
Yeah,
but again, you don't have to jump into the deep end from right away. Like that's fucking, it's okay to.
But being that the spirituality side of the game, this is, a significant part. You can almost go 50-50, maybe 60-40.
Well, I mean, even then, right? I mean, the Garu are part human, part wolf, part spirit. Yeah, so it's a big part of the game in the interactions with the spirits. And I mean, remember, and maybe, we kind of, maybe we downplayed it here, but it's also what it is and what it isn't, right? Because it's not furry Captain Planet. It's not people with superpowers who can turn into wolves, right? But you are, a servant of Gaia. She's just mom.
Mom.
And so, you are able through that game to speak with, spirits of ancestors or spirits of the elements or of animals, and you can be granted powers through interactions with those.
All within service to your job as defender.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's really cool interactions, each tribe has a totem spirit. You have tribes like the Silent Striders who answer to Owl. And the idea that Owl could appear, like this great totem spirit of Owl can appear and pass down knowledge or give advice. And is a player, you are interacting with that. It can be some really cool shit.
I like the part where it's different interactions depending on the character too. Again, we look at the Striders and Owl, and they're not going to get the same kind of interaction as like a Bonar would.
I mean, that's true.
I will say another good point about the Umbra just even existing and being a part of the game. As you said, the Garu are part human, wolf, and spirit. It's one of those things that, again, Vampire, it tend to get very samey, very boring if you're not super into, the political intrigue and being super into, the deceptions and politics and everything. Because you're only dealing with the physical world. Werewolf, you got the whole other sandbox of the Umbra to play in, but at the same time, if your group or ST isn't particularly, want to run a big umbral crawl or something, they don't have to. It's something there that you guys can use and have fun with if you want to. If the story revolves around it, or you can stick fully physical, or you can go fully on that umbral crawl and just ditch the material world for a while. Because of all the different locations, areas, and sandboxes you can get in, you can play 5 different werewolf games back to back and never get the same experience twice.
It makes plenty of sense, though. He's absolutely right. I love that part of it.
My big thing for Werewolf is it allows me to check out from real life. So I get to play an RPG, but this RPG is controlled by me and the ST. I get to build my character the way I want my character. I get to run my character the way I run my character, because, this is my way of checking out, of dealing with real life crap. So I get to play that fantasy aspect. Get to have fun with those spirits. Get to have fun with just regular NPCs. Bringing in that Ragabash role that I talk about all the time, because that's just me in real life. I just like being that jokey guy, but also knowing when to do it. And that's the big thing with that role.
No, it's definitely fair. And unfortunate, though, because I'm in the middle of writing an arc where we go to visit a place and you have to go undercover as an engineer.
I quit now.
Sorry. I actually have a meeting with your boss tomorrow to get the layout of your place and the ins and outs of your job, so I can write a more accurate story.
It's no fun.
So that's kind of a bummer.
Check out to get checked right back in.
But at least you won't be getting paid for this one, right? You'll be able to.
You're such a nice guy.
To, in your free time.
Hopefully you guys have good storytellers that won't do this to you. No, you guys all hit the points. I mean, the thing that drew me is, yes, it's savage horror. And especially, I look at it through the lens of what Porter has given me more, because that's how I played the game. So it's how Porter has presented Werewolf to us, which it's been savage horror and mystery, and I fucking love it. That's the big aspects of this. I mean, I'm not big spirit yet. We're getting into that. Mm-hmm. So I will start really getting into the spirit stuff of this. You guys are mentioning the Umbra and all that. I'm way more excited to do that because that's going to bring a lot more depth to that game, to this game, for myself.
Well, we talk about the Umbra. Like you said, it's something you're, starting to get into, Tom. And I mean, again, there's so much to that, but there's also, there's so many different themes. You can talk about family and lineage and maybe, atoning for mistakes of your past, ancestors could be a way you could go. There again is the idea of, I mean, obviously good versus evil. There's the spiritual aspects. There's, the coming of age of entering this world and how that conflicts with how you have lived life before. Because again, we're of the apocalypse. All right. For the most part. I mean, there are outliers, there are exceptions we could talk about all day.
Yeah.
But we're not, to not confuse the issue. Right. You are born of a human or a wolf, or there's a third option that we're not going to talk about right now. But let's just focus human because that's the most relatable thing, of course, right?
Of course.
So you're born like a normal person and you live your life for around till puberty, right? And you're just a kid in the world, fucking living whatever version of life looks like for whatever time period you're playing, and then one day shit starts to go south, and it's almost like the fucking X-Men, right? Like weird stuff. No, it is, right? Because weird stuff is happening to you and you can't explain it and you can't control
because you're right.
And what happens is, it's not a super original concept. Like I said, we talk about the X-Men. That's been happening since '63.
Has it been around that long?
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
And then you're brought into this world and you're taught that you were never a human. You are a werewolf. You are Garu. And here is our sacred mission, and here's the world around you, and you're going to find that you have a tribe, and you're going to have these new forms and these new rules to follow. And the human world that you knew no longer applies to you because you were never human.
Yeah.
And you got a job to do.
You're thrown in the deep end real quick.
Right. And this comes back to something for me that I embrace, that I love so much about this game, right? Because all of those things I just said is true, right? You're essentially kidnapped and thrown into the woods, probably. Mm-hmm. Your mileage of a very bad game, and told that, no, you are something special. You are more than what you thought you were, for better and for worse. You are not human. You are not a human with powers. You are this whole other thing that is part human. And that's fine. And here's part wolf that you have to learn about, and part spirit that you will learn about. And you'll find like the beauty and the horror of the world around you that you didn't know existed. And here's the thing, you are now thrust into this battle with these forces of creation for the fate of the everything, not even the planet, everything. And you're losing.
Jesus.
And now you're going to meet some people and they're going to be your pack, your new family, and you're going to go out into the world and fight and probably die screaming. And you're going to do it to maybe get a few more days before the end of everything. It's about that fight beyond hope to push that hard for even just another fucking day. There's something beautiful in that, man. To fight beyond reason, to believe. And then again, even that comes with other things. The horror of the actions that have to happen, of the battle itself. Again, if you're lucky, you will last longer than the rest of your friends, but probably you're all going to die. And it's going to be painful and it's going to suck and you're going to lose battle after battle or person after person because this is Werewolf the Apocalypse, not Werewolf the hold on a second, we're about to win this sumbitch.
Nice pitch.
And it's getting to play with that horror that comes from that potentially hopeless fight. All the just savagery and brutality in this savage horror game, but also, Porter had mentioned, there is that hope for at least one more day. Maybe your actions will be the turning point. Maybe you'll buy the world that one more day it needs. Maybe not.
Even if you buy an hour.
Try.
Even if you buy an hour.
Right.
That's still better.
Well, I remember when we started this podcast, and that was one of your biggest things and why this game is so important and why this game is such a big deal. It's the hope. And it's, yeah, you're right. It's a big fucking deal.
You lose that little bit of hope, you got nothing. And that's the savage horror of it. You're keeping up the fight for that little glimmer of hope.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many. Garo society is brutal, and it's largely unforgiving.
Oh yeah,
you
got to learn to swim real quick, or else
right?
you're sinking in that society.
And it's easy sometimes to look at it. I'm going to use the word wrong, because we look at it through a purely human lens, but because we are people, and of course we do. But the Garo Nation, they are not human. And it's a different thing. It's a different society. There are different rules, and it's a different standard. If you screw up at your job, you get fired. Maybe you get written up. I don't even think you get yelled at anymore.
Different story, but
different story. No. But
it could be like some kind of write up, some kind of reprimand.
Right. In the nation,
if you screw up, you could die.
Oh, absolutely. Forget in the field where a mistake could get you killed. But let's say maybe you fall asleep on guard duty.
You get other people killed.
You could get other people killed, but you're going to get some broken bones, which isn't a big deal in a world where you can regenerate.
It's still going to hurt.
Sure, but you're not really doing any damage, ultimately. Mm-hmm. It's just your teacher's little attitude adjustment.
It's one of the other facets that brought me in is the potential for the Garu have that casual level of violence.
Yes.
I like that. Casual level.
Get a bunch of guys just hanging out, shooting the shit. Somebody's probably going to get punched in the arm or shoved or whatnot. It's all just, as being guys. It's all fun. Nobody's actually trying to hurt everybody. Now, in the Garu Nation, you can get stabbed in the gut and be fine in 5 minutes, if not less. What's a couple broken ribs amongst friends?
He's right.
No, but exactly. That's exactly it. If you've got a loudmouth pack member who gets you into trouble sometimes, just break his jaw if it has to happen.
Throw him down a ravine.
Oh, wow.
But, maybe you break his jaw real quick. Why? Because, you'll heal that. They have a supernatural, and it's funny we say that, right? Because it's from Gaia, so it's totally... Natural. It's from nature, so... But,
Here nor there.
Right. They have these regenerative abilities that make that kind of thing less of a big deal. Where in our society, obviously, Jesus Christ. Well, no,
right.
It's fine. He's going to be fine.
Walk it off in 5 minutes. It's fine.
Right?
Yeah. No, if Tom and I are walking and he says something he shouldn't, I'm not going to go break his jaw. It's going to be a while before he heals that.
That would be a bigger deal in the real world. Yes. I suggest don't break your friend's jaws, folks. Don't.
In game, maybe.
Pro tip, less assault.
To say that, but,
less assault.
I have to say it, but legally. Break your friend's jaws.
Yes, legally, it's...
You hear our RA lawyer kicking in over here?
Right?
In game and out of game.
It's crazy. But, and then at that point, we move on to rage. Right as a concept. The Garu, aside from their claws and fangs, they have tools that they have been given to help do their duty. And rage is a huge part of that, of the game. And it's a spiritual, we all know what the word rage means, but rage in the context of Werewolf the Apocalypse, that is a spiritual, just deep burn. It's not like I'm mad one day.
No.
It's not like that dude flipped me off in traffic and I'm going to drive to his house and say hi to his family. But actually, that's really more.
It's almost
I went too far with that bit almost.
A little bit.
It's almost like a force.
It's getting there, but not there.
It's almost like a force driving you.
Yes. And it's that force that allows, from a game standpoint, allows for the changing of forms, from a mechanic standpoint, allows extra actions, things like that. But yeah, it's this deep spiritual anger, this force that the Garu tap into that is both a blessing and a curse. It makes them unable to function like normal humans. They can lose control of their rage and frenzy, which is the kind of shit you see in werewolf movies where they just blindly
attack everything.
But on the normal day, you know, it's the struggle to keep that under control. You know, we go back to elements of horror, you know, the idea of losing yourself to your rage, losing control, blacking out and waking up in an alley covered in blood and you don't know where you are or whose blood this is. Why does my mouth taste of pennies?
Ooh.
You know,
That's
you
a
and your
good
buddy are just sitting at the set playing a game of cards and he keeps just cheating left and right. All of a sudden you wake up, your buddy is nowhere to be seen, and you've got the rest of your pack pinning you down. What did you just do?
Right.
Oh, I was going to say, who got rid of the cards?
At the same time, like, you have those moments of the absolute horror of, like, figuring out what did you do, who did you just kill, or who did you just try to kill. On the opposite side of that, you get into a fight. This is where you can have that moment where at the start of the fight, you've already taken down 3 people in the span of like 6 seconds. Because you've burnt through that rage. You've done all the super fucking badass shit a werewolf can do.
And
it's that blessing and curse.
No, you're absolutely right, CJ. And, you know, yeah, blessing and curse. And you're giving great examples. I mean, in the other hand of that too, we also have concepts like gnosis, which is essentially your spiritual lifeblood, your connection to Gaia in the things around you. And I mean, it's an unfair comparison, right? Like, it's not a correct, but if we're using this in terms of, other concepts from other games, something like as a starter thing.
Your mana power.
Yes.
Yep.
Not a 1-for-1 at all.
Not at all.
But you spend a lot of gnosis to use a lot of your gifts, which would be akin to spells or abilities. You know, it's not the same thing.
Spend a point of gnosis and generate just a big old wall of fire. That's a spell easily enough.
Right. Or use a point of gnosis and make your roll to heal somebody. Depending, and that all of those things depend on your auspice and your tribe. And it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, the different auspices and tribes and the different connections, each of those have to the different aspects of this. They're all significant and all different. Around being more in tune to the rage, the Thurge being more in tune to the gnosis. It's kind of a big deal.
I mean, sure.
I mean, it's 2 extreme examples, but
no, I mean, each Garu has a role to play, and that auspice helps them play that role. And then the ways that tribe can influence that, the culture of a tribe, you know, you have, and we'll go extremes from the children of Gaia who believe that, and this is, you know, that the unity of the tribes is the only way to avoid the apocalypse, to stop what's coming. You know, is by taking these tribes that don't always get along too well and uniting them under the single banner and working together, who also believe that they can influence humanity, kind of as misguided as it may be, in the world of darkness. You know, and then the other hand, you have a tribe like the Get of Fenris, who believe, who know the war is coming, and they know they're probably going to die. But they're the tribe that will gladly be swallowed by some monster if that means they can cut its heart out on the way down.
They're the ones who are in the front, and they will fight you for that right.
Right. You know, they strive to be the best and the strongest because it's that important, because somebody has to be the vanguard for the end. We'll take that hit. We will be the best, and we'll probably all die at the end. But we did it to save everybody.
Blaze of glory.
Right.
And that is so honorable.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, you have like the Red Talons, who are a tribe only of Lupus or Wolfborn Garu, who take issue with humanity and their nonsense. Or the Black Furies, who is a tribe essentially like an Amazon tribe. Amazonian, you know, they're fucking women warriors, you know, a tribe of Wonder Woman. I mean, there's more to it than all of those. I mean, that's a super
cliff notes.
We're just doing surface level.
Right. This is the back of the cereal box level of explanation. But it also, these are some of the tribes and those philosophies. And so what does it look like being brought in by this society here and given this teachings versus this tribe when you're both, say, the same auspice? You know, the difference between, how a Thurge is taught And again, that's essentially your shaman, your mage kind of character, right? How they deal with spirits in this tribe versus this tribe. And again, no tribe is a hive mind, so there's plenty of room for differences and variations. But again, on the surface level, and that's something I want to talk about later in the future too, is what it means to be a part of a tribe. But that's different episodes. That's the future.
That's the future.
Keep listening, folks. I mean, do that anyway.
Please.
I once heard a doctor say that listening to the show adds years to your life.
That's impressive.
I never saw his medical degree, and he might have been a liar. I can't prove that it isn't true.
Is his name Curtis Webb?
He did stay away because we said we had a lot of apples.
Well, he might have been about to tell me he just made that up, but I did brandish an apple. And you know what they say, we all know that doctors are very much afraid of apples. That's why the saying of an apple a day keeps a doctor away.
Right.
That's just science. That's why they have that saying. It's like, how evil spirits are afraid of jack-o'-lanterns. People carve jack-o'-lanterns and put them out so they don't get haunted by ghosts. Ghosts are afraid of jack-o'-lanterns. Doctors are afraid of apples.
I got it.
Like vampires and garlic.
Right? Same thing.
Now, we do have a third stat, though. We talked about rage and gnosis. We have willpower as well.
We do have willpower, which I don't want to say is less important, but
it's important because it's the amount of your willingness to push through something.
And your ability to. And that's also very tied to rage, to help control your rage.
I was going to say that, but that it's so heavily tied to the rage, but at the same time, willpower is also kind of self-explanatory.
That's how I feel too. Like, you're absolutely right, Tom.
You still got to bring it up. I mean, we're doing street level stuff.
You're absolutely right. Just, I think it begs the least amount of description because it's the most on the nose. Like, rage versus people rage isn't the same thing.
No.
I have always done that example of, walking in on like your best friend with your wife.
Yeah, how angry you are.
There are people who hate that example, but we're talking to people who don't know the concept of rage here, so I stand by it. And that being like a 1.
Compared to a Garda's rage, yes. I agree with that analogy.
Maybe a 2. And yeah, you have to live your entire life like that.
I mean, It depends on the person, but yes, it could go up to a level 2, but you're talking Garu rage. It's
a different thing, but
thing.
To try, and again, there's a few people out there that just loathe when I bring this example up, but it's like, make someone,
it's to put it in perspective of how much rage affects a Garu.
Right. Is it the
how
same
much rage
thing?
They
no.
hold.
Right. No, it's not the same thing. Right. It's a more spiritual thing, like a spiritual anger.
Supernatural anger. It's
right. But, hey, remember that time that you were a werewolf and you can't do that.
No.
But we all can relate to something like, walking in on your spouse with someone you trusted or, something like that. We even if you haven't, everyone's been
at least heard a story about it.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Seen it on the news, in a movie, or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. That's something we can all relate to, and you can go, okay, well, I understand that. Mm-hmm. And if you're saying that is just a drop in the bucket for this, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. And you can even go fine if you don't want that example, getting fired. It's how angry you are at that moment. And now you put it in Garu terms, that moment is a lifetime.
Right. That time you're so mad, we're going to be in the paper tomorrow. And that's just, you just live that.
That's your life now. Enjoy. Keep that willpower suppressing it as much as you can.
Or burn your rage as fast as you can.
Both.
Get it down there,
yeah.
But you don't want to burn it all the way off.
Because then you could lose the wolf.
Exactly.
I like that term, though. Because you're not losing a wolf, but you're losing your wolf senses. It's almost like losing the rage instead, but...
Well, when you run out of rage, you lose the ability to shift forms. You can't...
I just think it's a cool way to put it, but it basics here.
You're forced into retirement.
For a bit. Yeah. Look, there's levels. We're not getting into fucking, you can get the book,
It's like a session 2 concept.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of aspects and concepts we're not bringing up, but they're a bit more into the, I don't want to say advanced course, but maybe the novice course.
Well, we're starting We're not even at this isn't even the Nerf level. For some reason, again, if this is your first show, I make a lot of fucking baseball analogies. Despite the fact
you're pulling out Nerf now, though.
Despite the fact that I'm not really that into baseball, it just is what happens. But no, it's like we're not even at the T-ball stage, is what I was going to say.
Yeah,
we're at it's not even a wiffle ball. This is a Nerf ball.
Okay.
See?
Okay, I get where you're going now.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, we're not even at the stage of a wiffle ball on a tee. Like, this is a book. It opens and then left to right, top to bottom. That's where we are. But that's okay, because people got to start. And, we're here to try to help that. And it's not just Werewolf. There are other games of the World of Darkness, too. But Werewolf is such a unique, and I mean, they're all unique in their own way. And they're all good in their own way. There are other shows maybe for that. I don't care. I don't know. Werewolf, though, is the thing.
That's what we're here for.
This is what we care about. This is why we're here. And that's the thing, is the World of Darkness is something else to bring up, because the World of Darkness was this vision, right? This kind of, this hard-boiled kind of gothic, darker look at the world that we live in. That's a concept that's been abandoned more recently, which is also a shame. Because, it was so influenced in 6 of 1, half a dozen, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's heavily
both ways. Like, you look at something like Blade, which kind of ripped off some World of Darkness stuff.
Oh,
Chicken Egg, and we're not taking a shit on anything here, but that's the kind of aesthetic and the kind of thing you're thinking about. So you think about that, right? Movies like Dark City or Pulp Fiction or Blade, or, there were a lot of, even Fight Club. There were a lot of concepts from that era, the late 90s, the mid to late 90s, that helped influence and build this World of Darkness. The concept of the World of Darkness itself is it's our world, or a simulacrum of it.
Just really shitty.
Yeah, just a darker, shittier version. And, what does that mean? It means the crime rates are higher. It means pollution is worse. It means people have less hope or love in their hearts. That apathy is king. That there are more corrupt cops than there are non-corrupt cops. That, it's just that, again, that darker, shittier version of the world, which makes it that much more important to keep hoping, to fight back, to stop that tide.
I was going to say, that much easier to write that savage brutality of the story.
Sure. Hell, Sin City, another fun reference, or another fun movie
one. Good one.
It's the underground backdoor dealings that happen under everyone's noses that is more prevalent, because that's just World of Darkness.
Right, because things are worse and no one cares and there's no hope. And The Crow.
Yeah.
Oh, The Crow.
And at the same time,
another good one. Damn, dude.
At the same time, the World of Darkness is a kind of world that you might walk through suburb streets and hear kids talking about this witch who lives down at the end of the street and eats kids if you stand in her front yard at night. Could be an actual thing that you can go and check out and deal with. There could be a weird monster living in that house, snatching kids at night and eating them. Hey, guess what? You're a werewolf. You can do something about that.
Real life Hansel and Gretel right there.
Right?
No, he's absolutely right. The urban myths of it, and wait, they're not myths here. There's some truth to these, and to go do something about it, big deal.
Yeah, you get to be not only one of the things that goes bump in the night, but the thing that stands in defense
of the other shit that goes bump in the night.
Right. What is, and you can explore this, seems like, what does it mean to be, what does good mean? People sometimes, say that, the Garu are terrible and they're shitty. And it's like, well, you're misunderstanding. They are the heroes. They are heroes. They are, they're certainly the protagonists. But that doesn't always make them good people. That doesn't mean they always do the right thing. Yes, the term anti-hero is used very often, and that's okay. Yeah. It's closer to the Punisher than it is to Superman.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way of putting that.
You might be doing wrong things sometimes. And especially from a human lens, things that could be abhorrent. Well, you're a murderer. Well, but he's the worst one. And I did it to make things better. He did it because he's sick.
Did it because he enjoyed it.
And that's another bit of the horror that you can bring into the World of Darkness. Unlike Vampire, where you have a humanity tracker, so your character's like regrets and everything are actually mechanically based. Werewolf, if you want, you can, you're playing like a 14-year-old who just killed a guy for the first time. How does that make the character actually feel when they realize they just ripped some dude's jaw off with their bare hand or rip their throat out with their teeth?
And then you're probably going to have to do it again tomorrow.
And see, and here's the beauty thing is there are so many angles to take that, right? Because yes, there's the personal horror of what did I just do to somebody, and the realization that that's what's expected of me
from now on.
Right. Like, this is what my life is going to be in service of making sure the world gets to spin still. That personal toll, that's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful fucking angle. There's also, the idea of the consequences of that. Do you want to sit there and what that does to that character as a person? Again, you don't have to go these routes, but these are options. Is this someone who laments it, who tries to rise above it? Is it someone who falls into it? Is it someone who decides that they enjoy it and that leads them down to a path of corruption to where they eventually become the villain? I mean, that's a higher concept, especially because at that point you're now putting a timer on your character to where you have to retire it. But these are all options.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's like, yeah, that's the thing. It's options. It's not something you have to do because the mechanics say you have to. This is stuff you can do if you want to. If you want to flavor the character that way, if you want to run it, or if your character isn't necessarily that, put out by this because they might be a little bit psychopathic.
But the
it's
thing
just them doing their job.
You can run that character, though. You can be that psychopath. Is what you think is good might not be good in other people's lenses, but you think you're doing the greater good for Gaia. And
there's the thing, too, is the consequences of that and where that leads. I mean, people will talk, right? And people have talked, this is a thing, because sometimes, the World of Darkness gets a bad rap, especially with Werewolf, right? We go back to that whole murder hobo kind of concept. Yeah, there can be a great deal of violence in the game. And how that happens, the different levels of that. That's between the storyteller and the group. Or, the consequences of it, the ramifications in the overall story. Those are all important points. But, it's as much and as little as necessary, as you need, is appropriate for the story and the overall story. It's something that sets Werewolf apart, or the World of Darkness at all, apart from other RPGs. Is the emphasis on the role playing and the character interactions, in the social aspect. There's definitely far more combat in Werewolf than other games, but it's not a game just about combat.
No, not at all.
No, you and your party can go and trek through a dungeon one day, go kill a dragon, do another dungeon run, and it's all about what's the next adventure. Where World of Darkness, it's usually a lot of what's between those. What's between the big climactic events? How does your characters deal with it, and how do they get to the next climactic event? If
they survived that climactic event, too. That's the thing, because this is a losing battle.
That's true. Mm-hmm. And then how do you deal with that? I mean, again, that's dealing with that. That's part of that, too. It's hey, what's up, Danny?
I get a weird character concept in my head after doing all this, and I'm trying to leave it and focus on this, but it just keeps popping in my head. So,
okay, Danny's checked out.
No.
But as we explore, again, we're doing the Nerf, not yet wiffle ball to get to the team. The very beginning, the idea of this is your first year in this. Now this is the pitch kind of thing. Let's talk about the differences between a werewolf and a Garu, or to make that easier, a wolf man.
Yeah.
Because
one that changes under a full moon,
right? That's
and
just
can't stop that, and it just goes rage heavy and kills whatever it sees while the moon is up.
Like, yeah, we know the Wolf Man, like Lon Chaney Jr., Benicio del Toro. I've got the frilly shirt and the hair's coming out, and Teen Wolf as a Wolf Man.
The one playing basketball?
Yeah, or boxing. Depends. Or that could be Teen Wolf 2, which, by the way, is TOO, not the number 2. He's also Teen Wolf.
Oh, didn't know that.
No, it's true.
Jason Bateman.
Yep, he's Teen Wolf 2. Hey, I'm Teen Wolf 2.
I was about to say, I hope you do that in that voice.
Hey, I'm Teen Wolf 2. Okay.
So, you're right. There's significant differences. Like Tom just said, you can only change under the full moon.
Yeah, the wolf, the standard wolf man. Mm-hmm. It's the full moon's coming out. You got to lock me up, because I'm just going to be a mindless berserky thing and wake up naked in the forest. Maybe. But I mean, and that goes back to the concept of frenzy in the game. Mm-hmm. But
which I get, and I can understand why they would bring that in, because you're still influenced.
Well, and again, it speaks to the downside of rage, the dangers of losing yourself to it. There are plenty of elements in the game that yeah. But, as someone who has always liked werewolves, it's just the ferocity of it. And, the idea that, unlike a wolf man, a Garu or a werewolf can change forms whenever he damn well pleases.
I mean, there's cost to it. Yes. But
yeah, but game mechanic, right?
Surface level.
Yeah,
no, yeah, and
this is just explaining how cool this shit is,
right. So, and again, we go man, wolf, werewolf, but then there's something in between all those.
Well, that's the thing too. Yes, is that there aren't just. And I mean, you say man, wolf, werewolf. And like a wolf man, that's a dude who changes to, But in Werewolf the Apocalypse, there are 5 forms.
Yeah, so if there's everything in between, so you have man and wolf, now you have Glabro.
Well, yeah, but we have to explain what that is. Yeah, you run that, you have your quote human form. So you're skipping Hamid even.
Okay, sorry.
He's trying.
No. You have your first form, your Hamid, which looks and acts as a human. It's indistinguishable.
You were quote-unquote human until your first change. You've always been Garu, but as far as you knew, you were human up until that point.
But if you... Yeah, that's the Hamid form. It's essentially human, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you have your second form, your Glabro, is what it's called. And it's like the near man. It's closer to that wolf man.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah, it's closer to Teen Wolf.
It's closer to Teen Wolf. That's the best way to describe that.
Yeah, you're bulkier...
Not as furry.
Hairier,
not
but you are hairier.
You are hairier, but not as furry as Teen Wolf.
You can pass for human in low light, but you're a scary motherfucker.
Yes.
And you got like actual fangs jutting up from your lower jaw.
Right, I fucking love that aesthetic.
You've got like actual claws and stuff like that, and significantly taller than you are in Hamid.
Yeah, you're a freaky motherfucker.
Low light, down an alley, maybe with a hoodie. I could pass for human.
Very tall human, but yeah.
Thanks, yeah. You get taller, you get buffer, because you're getting there. That's
you've been working out.
Getting the beaches that way.
And you get your third form, your war form.
Yes, which we would know this as the werewolf form. Mm-hmm. That you've seen in movies, the big hulking, and that's called Krynos.
Like the Van Helsing.
This is your Van Helsing.
Yes. Yeah. Jinx.
Look at you both. Look at that. Yeah, Krynos. So that is the war form. That is the form specifically created to kill.
Yeah.
Like this is the one. That's the thing out of Nightmares. And it's we'll go back to that. We'll go back to beyond that you have the next form down at that point. It's called Hispo. And it's that of like the dire wolf.
Yeah.
If you watch Game of Thrones, there you go. It's essentially what we're talking about.
Yeah, I remember when we first started the game and you were trying to explain, again, the different forms. But it's like, okay, so you have Lupus, which would be the next form. Which is the wolf. But in between that werewolf and wolf, a dire wolf. A wolf is not that big of an animal.
It's bigger than people think, but yes.
But the dire wolf is twice, if not triple that size.
It's like a bear, but in a wolf form. bear sized in a wolf form.
Can be, yeah.
That's big. I would not want to be looking at that down an alley or down any kind of anything. That's scary.
See it crashing out of a wall.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Exactly that. And these are the 5 forms that every every Garu has, and has access to whenever they want. Not when the moon's full, like Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, and I remember, like, my first character, I played it off. I sat in Lupus for, like, the first 3 days. Just enjoying it.
Yeah, just taking in
taking in being a wolf.
Right, the sense, the difference in the senses. The fact that you went from human level senses to being able to feel each individual fur.
The sense on the wind, just everything.
Yeah.
I remember I did that with my first character. He just sat there in Lupus and just took it all in.
Imagine you're walking through your home set and you like, catch a smell of something good, something cooking. You want to, you could just go right down into your wolf form, right down into Lupus, and go follow your nose to that. Way better than you could as a human.
What are you, Toucan Sam?
Follow your nose.
Exactly.
It always knows.
That's just like how on demand these form switches can be.
No, absolutely. In fact, there's even a Garu specific martial art that was developed by one of the tribes that involves using your ability to change forms at will and rapidly
to hit harder.
Yeah, to kick ass, basically.
Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody's trying to punch you and you're standing at like 7-8 foot tall in Glaber or Krynos, and suddenly you're a wolf, they're going to miss.
Yeah. You're 8 feet tall, and all of a sudden you're 3 feet tall. Good luck. I think you missed.
But let's talk about one of the other big things that we see in werewolf fiction that is not the case in War of the Apocalypse is silver, or at least works differently. Let me see. Not you know, in so many of these werewolf movies, right? It's, you know, silver will kill a werewolf, and I mean that's true still in the World of Darkness. But it's this kind of thing where, oh, get him in the shoulder and the silver got him, so you're safe. It's done.
Nope.
Correct. Exactly. You know, silver does hurt the Garu, but it's not fatal to the touch. Exactly.
Spoiler alert, they can't heal it, though.
Right. They can't. They heal it like normal people. Their special healing doesn't work, which does make it dangerous, which makes it a real thing. But it's not, oh, I got shot in the foot and the threat's over.
No, you just pissed it off even more.
Yeah. You just made someone mad.
It will fuck up a werewolf. It just might take more than one shot.
Right.
Or a specific, like, kill shot.
But, in a lot of media...
Yeah, they try and stay away from it as much as possible. Whereas here, not only will they use it...
That's true, weaponize it against their enemies.
Yeah. But it's a big part of their society, too.
It is definitely important, you know. It goes back to the relationship with the moon, or as we like to call her, Crazy Aunt Luna.
I was wondering if you'd ever bring that back.
Oh, absolutely.
Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, but there are werewolf movies out there. You know, it's like, oh, he got stabbed in the shoulder with the silver fork. That's how we killed him. That ain't the way, bud. You're going to have to do better than that.
No, you just made him frenzy.
Right? You might have just made things worse.
Yes.
You know, and I think it's one of those important distinctions. Like for me, again, when I was learning about this world, learning that the differences between a wolfman and a Garu, you know, and that's, I think these little things like that are a big deal. You know, the idea that there is such a thing as the delirium, which is this deep-seated fear that humans have for werewolves. So if they see you in that werewolf form in Krynos, most humans will freak the fuck out. They'll either, you know, totally shut down and curl into a ball and wet themselves, or they will run until, or in either way, they justify what they've seen, and this helps keeps werewolves hidden in the World of Darkness. The fact that the idea that they're fictional, they don't exist, you know, which is called the veil, the idea that Garu aren't real. It's fiction.
Yeah, the veil being what's protecting Garu, because how many times have we said it before, but the humans being an antagonistic force will set up an entire panic among the entire world if they knew werewolves exist.
I mean, yeah, if you could prove that wouldn't be good, which is what the delirium helps, because it's not I saw a werewolf run down Main Street. You know, that's too much for the human to handle. It's,
I saw a crazy lunatic.
Did you hear about the escaped bear from the zoo?
Or that.
Or that asshole in a costume, that college prank?
Yep.
Yeah, the human's mind will make up whatever it has to from delirium.
Yeah, to justify.
To justify, yeah, exactly.
Or it'll just blank it out.
Also that. You know, but I mean, and there are various different levels of reaction, and that becomes a game mechanic thing, and you look at that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but you know,
don't have it, but it's like it's such a small percent. It's stupid.
But well, even then, I think it's such a small percent that it's significant when it doesn't happen.
Yes, it is significant. What did the? I'm trying to remember if there was a percent that I actually read. It was like
0.8.
I was going to say 0.8,
something like that.
Yeah,
That's really low. Holy shit.
It's a tiny percent, but when you have like a couple billion humans on the planet,
exactly, that's still a large number.
There's a lot of world for them to be spread apart, so you're not likely to run into many of them.
And even then, if they saw something, what's it going to take for them to convince somebody else? They might see something different. Oh, he's showing me oh no, his delirium's just justifying. Again, it must have just been a mask. Or a bear costume, or whatever.
Or Creepy Joe.
Yeah, right. But man, it wasn't no bear, you idiot. That was Bigfoot.
Even better.
But again, something that,
Yeah. How about something that, again, we look at them, they're the Garu society, and they have their own rules to play, right? And we just said it, those are the auspices. But, they also have a set of rules they live by.
Yes. It's called the Litany. Again, it's not one for one, but again, when we're talking to somebody brand new, and I think I use this for both of you guys, is calling it the Garu 10 Commandments.
Yes.
Which there's not 10, but it's a concept you can understand.
Yes, it's a concept.
Who cares about the number? It's a concept.
And it's stuff like Garu shall not mate with Garu.
And it was a rule set so they keep that spiritual connection with kin.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, I mean, there's a few reasons behind it. The idea from the game is when two werewolves mate and there's a child involved, that child is, first of all, born as like a baby Krynos, but he's always deformed and born sterile. So you cannot sustain the species by doing that.
Right.
But yes, like Danny, like you pointed out, it also connects, or rather keeps the Garu connected to their human and wolf, cultures, the different parts of them. Mm-hmm. It's also spiritual incest.
Which is, at least my idea of it, it's like a punishment. Okay, you did this against the rule. This is the result. Sterile and deformed.
And which is, backs up the incest. But, but also I think it's important to bring that one up in particular because there's a lot of, and I've heard this from people recently, is that they run into the issue that when people bring up werewolf, a lot of folks have, I
think I know what you're saying.
Some unsavory notions of what this game is about, or the type of people or their particular kinks.
Yeah, it's not. Are you sure if you want to do that? But that's not what the game is about.
Right. Like I can't. Whatever you do at your table and whatever you do in your home is your business, and I'm not making a commentary on it. It's none of my business. You're not hurting anybody. I don't give a shit what you do with your life. Maybe even if you are. No. So you go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, no, it's just like, even though rule 1 is just Garu should not mate with Garu, in reality, mating isn't a big focus of the game. So it's not something that really has to be brought up or has to be touched upon unless that's specifically what your table wants to do.
And that's the thing, is that it really shouldn't be. There's in some of the other editions, 2nd edition, which, by the way, that's what I recommend people start with.
2nd edition?
Yeah. For various reasons. I mean, that's where I started, but revised supposes you already have, and even to an extent 20, supposes you have a level of knowledge already. This is especially true with revised, though. And that knowledge started at 2nd edition.
Okay. Makes sense why you'd say that then.
But we'll get into that more in a different episode, in 2 weeks, frankly. Okay, it's the next thing we're recording. How about that? That would be probably the next show. At least it's where we're recording. We'll find out where it lands.
Yeah.
But anyway, Yeah, it's something that's been brought up that, it's Hamlet, not Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And this was by design. When people get to tell whatever story they want to at their table, and that's great. But this whole, it's not a dating simulator. And I know a lot of people hear that kind of thing, and it's not, that's not part of the game. That's what some people do. I don't know.
It's something that you can do at your table, but it's not necessarily core to the game. This would be something that you add in if you want to, but if your table or ST wants to just run werewolf as werewolf or not touch any of that, perfectly fine. And this is that tragedy of Hamlet. This is the betrayal, backstabbing, the war, the deaths, the loss of friends. Not necessarily a story of unrequited love and all that. Tell that story, but it's not the entirety of Werewolf.
Yeah, we said it right from the start. I mean, this is a savage horror game. You're here to defend Gaia.
Yes. Thank you both. It's closer to Die Hard than Debbie Does Dallas.
It's a great Christmas movie.
Debbie Does Dallas?
No, Die Hard.
Well, everyone knows Die Hard's a great Christmas movie.
Absolutely. But I also feel like when they were designing this game and creating a game, and that was probably such a huge part of making that part of the litany and keeping the kin close and the spiritual ancestor and the spiritual incest making a sterile Krynos could have been one of those pieces they're using to deter away from this concept.
I do think that. And also while we're talking about it, and I know we were talking about the litany itself, and we'll steer back, at least to touch down on a couple things, but the Metis it also is the third breed, that you can choose to play. And I look at that kind of as hard mode. I'm using...
No, you're right. That is like playing it in hard mode.
Because, the Metis...
Playing the underdog of the underdogs.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Because, the Metis grows up in Garo society. So, number one, from a player's perspective, they're going to have more knowledge about the world of the Garo because they've been brought up in it rather than being introduced into it later in life.
So, as a player, you would need to know a lot.
Yeah, it requires more knowledge. But also, the Metis are generally treated really, really poorly, because they remind the Garu of their own failings, their failure to follow the rules and to control themselves. Mm-hmm. They're a physical representation of that lack of self-control. So they get treated like crap too. But that can make powerful stories about, again, that underdog, that character that overcomes, that fights through, whatever deformity that they have, and in the social stigma, and to earn their place when everyone's put them down. That's fucking awesome. And that's inspiring. I think.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If you find an elder Metis in like a position of power in your sept, that guy's some kind of badass, or he's done something amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is super impressive.
Hell, finding an older Garu in the first place.
That's awesome.
Because again, this isn't a job that there's a lot of turnaround. Let's put it that way.
To be fair, most Garu don't live past their 30s.
Right.
In human years.
Exactly. And there's another thing is, they don't age the same. They age slower. Once they've had their first change, they've reached maturity, they age slower. They don't live longer necessarily because it's a dangerous job.
Very.
But you can find Garu in their hundreds still around. It's rare.
Very impressive if you've managed to last that long.
Right?
Either you've done some good things or you're really good at running.
And to go back
discretion is the better part of valor.
That's true. And to go back to Litany for a second, and we're not going to go down the whole thing.
No.
But it touches down, things like, again, the veil shall not be lifted. So make sure you keep the secret of the werewolf's existence. Mm-hmm. It talks about not violating cairns, and a cairn is a holy ground, it's like a base, a combination really between headquarters and like a church.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
But I think that should probably be made real quick, because you did bring up it's a holy place, it's a church. You mentioned the Garu society multiple times now. I don't think we've outright stated that Garu Nation the society of these werewolves is a nature-worshipping murder cult.
That is the phrase we like to use, yes.
Yeah. It's funny because we started saying that like right in the beginning of the podcast, fucking 3 years ago.
Heyo.
And I've seen other people use it. And it's like,
good.
Fuck yeah.
You got that from us.
Good way to get the message across.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that got my attention when I first heard it.
This is perfect, yeah.
And it makes the most sense.
Yeah, because these are characters, the society that believe, and it's easy to do because you look at, there are cults in our world, right? Like there are people who get people to believe some wacky shit.
Oh, yes.
And they have followers and they are devoted, but like you can't prove that the space aliens are going to come down because the space aliens aren't there. But in our society, in the world of darkness, you can go into the spirit world and see the spirits that they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Oh, the spirits aren't real. Yes, they are. Yeah, look, you can meet them.
Look, open your eyes. It's right there.
Right?
Go talk to Crazy Aunt Luna. It's not recommended.
No, it's not, but you can do it.
Which is why she got that nickname of Crazy Aunt Luna.
Yep.
It's, and that's the thing is, so to think about that is that level of zealotry that exists even with, these cults and people today. But then like if they could prove that they were right.
Yeah, that would be.
Think about the devotion involved.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, already, even in this world, people can be easily manipulated, especially after some kind of, like, tragic or horrific event.
Certainly.
But add that tragic or horrific event in the world of darkness, like something like a first change where you just destroyed everyone and didn't even realize it until you woke up.
Right.
And then add that onto, holy shit, there's some fucking proof right there. Now what?
Right. And then, again, to touch on spirituality, and, I talked earlier a bit about a couple movie references and stuff that could help get you in that headspace, right? To color that world. This was the kind of shit that was going on when this was it. It's, I look at the anime Princess Mononoke.
Love it. That's how you introduced me into the spirit stuff, and I highly recommend it to anybody.
Not only a spectacular movie, but a great for inspiration. And I think back to, like the boars or the wolves there.
Yeah.
Those were spirits, and those kind of interactions, we look to some of the characters. And I was trying not to do this. I was trying to avoid any specific references, like to particular games, but there's a character Whiplash in our games who is, again, I bring him up because this character is a believer. His pack, they Boar is that totem, and he worships Boar. He believes in that spirit. He is loyal. And and you can take that to scary places, and you can take that to good places. You can take that all the extremes because no one's a fucking hive mind.
Just how that character is. He is devoted to his job.
Yeah, just to back in, to the spirit, the spirit stuff, the devotion. And God, you look at stuff like, talking about like honoring the elders, fighting the enemy, winning wherever you can. It's just this, the litany is just these set of laws that, like, shit, okay. It helps cement the world.
I see them almost not as laws, but like guidelines. And it's like, look, if you want to survive, even if it's only that much longer, you need to follow these. It's not the laws because we have to. It's the laws because you're going to die. This is the only thing that will help you stay just that much longer.
Well, see, I would argue that there's a little bit because you have to, because I said so, because if you don't, I'm going to fucking spank you.
Well, look, there's that part of it.
There's that part. And also, while we're at it, to back you up here, there's also, we look again, we talk about those auspices, those job classes. You have the Philodox, who is the judge who upholds the laws. You also have the Ragabash, which is also kind of the jester / assassin, but whose job is to question the ways. So you get these debates about the importance of the litany, and is this old fashioned? Is this out of date? Should this be touched down on? So the society is questioned even from within. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously from within. If it's from without, you fucked up.
But if you look at it and there is no laws, what's stopping anything from happening? I mean, you have to have at least some kind of guidelines.
Sure.
Because if there was none of those, well, Garu probably wouldn't exist.
Which, again, makes it more towards the guidelines of being able to survive.
I mean, they probably would have just killed each other with the rage. That's the whole respect of territory of one another. That's another one. If they didn't have that kind of a law, they would have just been fighting each other. There would have been infighting.
I think once upon a time that was definitely true. Go ahead, Siege.
I was going to say, even then, with that law, that kind of didn't stop them in earlier parts of history.
True.
It's fair when we were fighting for land, yes.
Well, it's like I think back to like the Dark Ages, which is a setting. World of the Dark Ages is a setting. If you'd prefer that and, mess with history or whatever. But, the Dark Ages were a pretty sweet time for the Garu. Like there wasn't a whole lot they were aware of that was going. There was, but they weren't aware. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like, so mostly they just kind of fucked around and got in each other's way.
It's true.
That was like the largest threat at that time was each other. And that's part of it too. Another part of the tragedy of it all is, the Garu Nation is not as unified as it should be. There are tribes that have serious beef with each other. There are individuals who have beef with each other. It's fractured. It's not broken, but it's definitely, there's a lot of cracks in that armor. And that begets the problem too, it's entirely possible if they would just get over their shit and work together, they could totally win the day. But it's not going to happen.
Too much history.
Too much history, too much bullshit, too much stubbornness. And that, again, part of the tragedy, part of the horror is that you could probably save this if you could get your shit together to do it.
But goes back to maybe the rage is what's stopping it.
But then what kind of story you have if that happens? Oh, you won. Okay, now what?
No, it's a different game entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that gives you so many aspects to write on, to play with, to just have fun with. The politicking. I mean, that's just would be so good.
The thing to touch on, since you did bring up the Dark Ages, yeah, we've been talking about, for the most part, playing like Werewolf in a modern day setting because, it's the World of Darkness. It's our world, just shittier. Well, like they have the Dark Ages. If you want to play medieval Werewolf, you can. You want to go and rob a stagecoach and then hijack a train in the Wild West?
You can.
Werewolf's got a source book for that.
Yep.
Wild West? What made you think to bring that up, CJ?
Hey,
I'm the Wild West guy. It's kind of my thing now.
The Wild Wild West.
Well, tarnation.
Tarnation.
That was for you, Danny.
Of course it was. I was about to bring up the number, but I forgot it now.
Oh, I don't remember either.
867-5309?
Yep, that's exactly it. Wow.
That's the number.
We've got that many episodes.
But once again, you've got your options for what kind of game do you want to play and what kind of game do you want to run around it. Because, yeah, like we said, the Veil's a very important thing. If you wanted to play it in a modern day game, Veil's something you're going to have to be watching out for 24/7 if you're not like the other werewolves in the woods. Or once again, you go to Dark Ages, you go to the Wild West, and oh no, somebody saw me in Krynos and is running to go tell everybody. Just make a ghost town.
Turns out you won't be in the paper tomorrow.
Takes a while for that paper to recirculate anyway.
Right. Nice.
So,
then you deal with different cans of worms for like your conflicts and just overall chaos of the settings.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is there's so many different kinds of antagonists you can add.
We're saying the Garu are defenders. And we're defending, but why?
Well, to keep everything from ending.
But why is it ending?
I see. You want to get into the greater cosmology. Well, yeah, let's touch down on it for just a second.
Just for a second. Just a tip.
See how it feels?
Just see how it feels.
All right. Well, ouch here on my hair. So it comes down to the three aspects called the triad: the worm, the weaver, and the wild. Where the wild is the creation myth, and the super cliff notes. We're just,
just a little bit.
Really quickly. The wild would create, just raw creation, formless shit, just creation. And that's what the wild does, is it grows and it creates.
Just consider it matter. It just makes matter.
And you have the weaver who would come along and encapsulate that shit into its webs and give it form and substance.
And a name.
Yeah. Lamp, television, tree,
Turtle.
Danny.
Stop sign.
Garu.
Flipjack. Aardvark. Firework. Lamppost.
Tree. You said tree.
I did.
Rutabaga.
Remote.
Zipline.
Rutabaga.
This is just fun. I don't know why this is the game, but yeah, we would come along and make it into give it form, human. And then the worm, the worm of balance would come along and devour it, completing the cycle, of life and death, and all this is how things were.
Yep.
And then the short version, the weaver went nuts. Was tired of this guy smashing up the place, just being rowdy, tired of this one destroying everything, these nice things, and the weaver and the worm is destroying it. Had enough. Captures the worm in its webs, and the worm goes mad, trapped in the webs where it still is today.
And corrupts.
And becomes corrupted because it still needs to do its job, but it can't do its job. So it twisted. And decided to become not the worm of balance, but the worm of corruption. Let's corrupt things and destroy that way.
Because I'm still trying to do my job.
Right. But this leads into, its skin poking through the weaver's webs and creating different aspects of itself, which have gained sentience and work against each other even.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the worm is also like the Hydra, like a Hydra with all these different, the beast of war, the defiler worm, the eater of souls, and then the minor urges. And this is a lot of shit, but this is what it is you're trying to stop the worm from just corrupting and destroying everything. And hey, there's also the weaver who wants to preserve everything, calcify existence in its webs, and just a stillness for all time.
The stillness of quote unquote perfection.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have Wild, it's still
losing.
Very aggressively losing.
Yes. But it's still, randomly creating and can get overpowering.
Well, it can, it's a force, it's a random, kind of an X factor. It's a raw force of creation. We attribute it to nature and a lot of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily a good thing. It's just the weakest thing, and it's about restoring the balance.
Right.
And yeah, that's important you bring that up. And, that's where antagonists come from, is forces of the worm and the weaver, and very rarely the wild, but, whatever. Be that in the forms of corrupted spirits or
other corrupted Garu.
I was about to say, yeah, there's a tribe of fallen Garu who, again, with the horror, it's a mirror put up to your characters that this is what you could become, this twisted, evil fucking thing. If you don't watch your ass, this could be you.
Or maybe you give up and join the winning side. That's what's waiting for you.
Right? And all of that is part of that larger package that is War of the Apocalypse. And I mean, we just scratched the surface. And as it turns out, again, if this is your beginning to all of this,
there was a lot of shit.
We got a couple years worth of podcast for you. And, we're going to be talking more. We're going to be doing this back to basics kind of thing. So maybe that's going to be your starting point to help you on the path. That's something we're here to do. We put this podcast together to help people improve their game, to help to teach people about the game, to help people see the game and love the game the way that I do.
Yeah, well, it's worked on us. So now we're trying to you're a fucking cult leader. God damn it.
Why would you say that out loud? You've ruined the surprise.
You lead the Nature.
I lead the Nature. Yeah. That's my real name. I'm Porter Nature. Nice to meet you.
I'm done. I can't.
But yes, no. I have seen it in this portrayal now, and again, what you've shown to me God damn, it sounds too much like a cult.
Verily.
But no,
to the Garu Nation.
You're right. And to see it through the eyes like this, it's a big deal. And I've been shown the way.
Oh my God.
You got CJ drinking the Kool-Aid too, so.
You're welcome.
Not mad.
Like, if it hadn't been for this podcast, I probably would have not taken the plunge into werewolf that I did. And there's a lot more to go on and say about it. You said we just scratched the surface today. We could probably go for another 3-4 hours if we really wanted.
If we wanted, we could have. We don't have that kind of time, but
No, and it is about that time. But before we do go, we do want to thank everyone for listening and take a second to definitely shout out our backers. We actually, before this show, recorded Postmortem, which is a bonus episode that some of our backers get every month. And if you want to be a backer, we would definitely appreciate it. You can head over to our Ko-Fi. That's ko-fi.com/rage across the internet, where we have a bunch of different levels there that we can, that you could donate, or single donations. One-time donations is a thing too. Got a few things in the store there, as well as previous Postmortem series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, you know, those like once a month, those come out. That's a deeper dive into the games that these guys have actually played with me as their storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, give some insight. We do some readings. We have some fun with it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of fun with those. Those are my favorite to do, but that's just because of the fun we have. But
Right.
Other than that, those backers, there's also the movie nights.
Yep. Once a month, we do a double feature movie night. That's a lot of fun.
Oh, we have a ton of fun with that. We make fun of whatever shitty movie we're watching.
You're welcome.
If it's a shitty movie, I mean, we've had some decent movies,
Occasionally, yeah, I'll throw like a real one in, but I like to do.
but we do the shitty ones because of how much fun we have together.
Yes.
We have our game team, which we're doing weekly at this point.
Well, we do. Yeah, that's on the regular. And that's access. What that is that's access to like our gamer tags and shit. So you can join us when we play mostly Dead by Daylight, but other stuff,
Other stuff too, yeah.
you know. And then there's the NPC of the Month Club, which is a monthly NPC directly from my NPC Bible. The entry gets rewritten, which is a bonus for me too. It's just one of those things like I had been meaning to revise some of those write-ups for years, and like this is a great excuse for me as well. So it's a fresh write-up of that character. It's the best version of it, not like the version I did 15 years ago that, you know, I don't know the difference between 2 and 2 or, you know, whatever.
It's a completely fleshed out character. It's the background. It's the upbringing. It's the mental capacity of that character. It's the appearance of that character. It's the mannerisms of that character.
It's not stats. It's who that person is.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. It's not the dots on the page. That's, make up those however you want. But the character themselves, they're a big deal. and I'll just say, and I'm sorry, I hate doing this. I constantly kissing your ass, and this sucks, and I'm sorry. But
Ouch.
Right?
but these are a big deal. You're putting so much work into these, and I'm excited to be able to read them because we do some quality control and make sure they're okay, and you know, mistakes happen and grammar control or whatever. But like being able to read these and seeing the amount of work that's put into them, these are a big fucking deal.
And as an ST that has gotten these NPCs, like, again, aside from dots on a page, they're ready to just be dropped into just about any game, maybe with a little tweaking or use them as inspiration for your own characters.
That's nice too, because yeah, CJ is also a backer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so yeah, he's had these. He's got a few of these. He's used a few.
Yeah.
You know, clearly it's worth it because he's, at least to him, you know, it didn't, maybe to you. But either way, you know, that's a thing. Our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/rage across the internet. It's a place you can do that. We also have our Discord, which is free to everybody.
Yeah.
All you got to do is sign up, get the link through our website. You know, it's on our forums. We like to do that to try to keep,
It's our two-way authenticator, basically.
Basically.
So I can keep bots and things from coming into our Discord.
Yep. So all we ask you to do is, just sign up on our forums and get the link there, which is, by the way, rageacrosstheinternet.com.
.com.
.com.
Little stupid thing we like to do.
You know, when there's 4 of us, I'm going to have to skip the .com and just let you through.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
And going back to that Discord real quick for a moment, it's a fucking great community that's been there. People always ready to hear ideas just about whatever. You ever need a place to get ideas, or, you know, if you're curious, like, what people think of this story idea, there it is. And we've also got people like myself who are running games there.
You ever want to just come shoot the shit with us? I mean, feel free to come hang out as well.
That's my favorite part about it.
Yeah.
Like to get a little real before the end of the show with it here. You know, I think real, we do that anyway. But, you know, ever since starting this podcast, you know, like I don't want to say it's not every day anymore, but it used to be every day I was on that Discord for most of the time.
Yes.
You know, and I've taken a couple steps back. You know, I'm still there, but, you know, you need some time away. So it's largely been all werewolf all the time.
You know, not a werewolf.
Right. So I love the assembly area section of our Discord where we could just bullshit about whatever. You know, like we do. We also do a open video game / hangout night on Wednesdays for everybody, where we play Dead by Daylight mostly, and then but shoot the shit. But it's nice to not have to. Yeah, we could talk about movies or comics or Transformers or, you know, what kind of cheese you put on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if someone puts a gun to your head, or
what belongs on pizza, what doesn't.
Right.
From under.
Like,
gross.
Like there's all this, you know, there's just the random dumb stuff to talk about that isn't werewolf, where we just get to know the community and hang out with each other. That's my favorite part.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Like I'm there to help and I'm happy to help, but it's nice to not have werewolf be 90% of my life sometimes. Right. After 3 years, it's a lot of werewolf. Always.
Yeah, we built an awesome community, and we love having everyone in that community, and we love being able to hang out with them. So shout out to all of you.
Yes. We're pretty big
know
fans
who you
of
are.
Right? Like I know there's a lot of guys out there that are fans of us. We're fans of you too. But with that said, we need to get rambling today.
Mm-hmm.
But gentlemen, thank you for joining me as always.
Oh, absolutely.
You're welcome.
Always a fun time.
Well, and then so there it is. So we want to thank you for listening. We want to thank you for your support. On behalf of Mr. Tommy Dixon, Mr. Daniel Tyson, and Mr. CJ, I want to say, you know, again, thank you again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Keep your claws sharp. Your head in the swivel. We'll see you.
Not always this stupid.
Flyer.